Hi, welcome to Chris Ryan Golf. You've joined me at the Belfry Academy here. We're on the putting green, we're talking about putting, and more importantly, we're talking about the speed of putting and the pace that we hit the ball at. So, for me, pace is something where we see a big difference between the best in the world and the amateurs out there, the handicapped golfers. It's one of the reasons that people miss putts, it's one of the reasons that people three putt, is because the pace isn't good enough and therefore they leave themselves too much to do on the second putt. So it's something that we really need to practice, something we need to focus on, and what we're just going to do initially, we're just going to understand why it is important, and then we're going to go through some ways of actually practicing it and sort of upping our skill level in that area. So why is it important? Well, two reasons. Firstly, the pace that we hit the putt at can really affect how much break or how much borrow that ball will take. We know that if we hit a putt with less speed, then gravity has more effect and that ball will have more break or more borrow. If we hit the ball a bit firmer, then gravity will have less effect and that ball will run a little bit straighter. So if the pace is inconsistent, then the line that we need to hit the ball on would need to be different as well. So we often find that people choose a good line, but if the pace is wrong, then the ball will either miss on the high side or the low side, depending on the speed that they hit the putt at. So that's the first reason. The second one would be how big effective the hole is when the ball is running at it with certain speed. So let me just clarify what I mean by that. I've got three balls set out here. I've got the furthest ball over here. Relative to this hole, that's 5 feet past the hole. This ball is 2 feet past the hole, and this ball is a foot or 12 inches past the hole. So if we imagine we're hitting a putt from down this way, and the ball would have this much speed. So this first putt was running up to the hole and it ran a foot past. This one would have run a 2 foot past, and this one would have run 5 feet past. Okay, now initially we may well say those three putts, they all had a chance to go in. They all went past the hole. Now, while that's true, this putt had very little chance to go in. This putt, a little bit more, and this one, a greater chance. So what do we mean by that? Well, the diameter of the hole is 4.25 inches wide. And we know that as the ball has got more speed, effectively the hole size gets smaller. So when we're hitting this putt here that runs 5 feet past, the centre of the hole, okay, if that ball went right into the centre, there's a decent chance it would have gone in. If it just misses the centre left or right, but it's still within the confines of the hole, it would actually lip out because it's got that much speed. So the hole at 4.25 inches wide, when the ball goes this far past, actually reduces to about half an inch. So that's how big the hole was effectively when my ball had that much speed. The one that's 2 feet past, the hole goes down to just under 2 inches wide, so around about this width here. And the one that's the foot past, that hole effectively went down to just above 2.5 inches wide, 2.6 inches. So this ball was travelling towards a hole effectively 2.5 inches wide. This ball was travelling towards a hole about half an inch wide. So yes, they both had a chance to go in because they went past the hole. This putt had very little chance to go in. So that's something we call capture size. Those sort of numbers that I've just thrown at you there, they're not from my findings. I'm not going to take credit for those. They come from Aimpoint. I'm sure you've all heard of Aimpoint. Well worth checking out what they do. Fantastic. But what it tells us is that pace is really, really important. Anytime we start to go 2.5, 3 feet past the hole, we're sort of making it very, very difficult to hole it. We've got to be right in the middle to actually get that ball to drop. Otherwise, it's going to catch the hole, but it's probably going to lip out and miss. Okay, so with that in mind, we're just going to go through a really good drill, which is going to help you to practice your pace control, which is going to give you effectively a bigger hole to aim at each time. And if we can do that, if we can get the pace consistently and aim at a bigger hole, we've got more chance of holding some putts. Okay, so I've got myself a 10-foot putt here, and what I've done is I've laid a flag, which is around about 1.5 feet behind the hole. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and hit putts. I'm going to try and hole them, but I want to see how many putts I either hole or that finish between the front of the hole and the flag. So if the ball finishes short of the hole, that doesn't count. If it actually makes contact with the flag, that doesn't count either. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do a little challenge. I'm going to see how many putts it takes me to get 5 balls to either go in the hole or finish in that sort of gap behind the hole. And what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to give me a very, very quick percentage from 10 feet as to how often my pace is good. So if it takes me 10 attempts to get 5 balls either in the hole or into that gap, that tells me that from 10 feet, my pace is good 50% of the time. Now, what I then want to do is try and get that as high as I can. So ideally, in an ideal world, it would take me 5 putts to finish 5 balls into that zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit a couple and just see if I can do a few and just give you an example. So I'm looking to hole it, but I want to make sure that the pace is good if it wasn't going to go into the hole. Okay, so that one I'll be fairly happy with. It didn't go in, but it was a good pace, so effectively my hole size was quite big, had a chance to go in, but didn't make the hole too small. So I'm going to hit another one. Okay, and that was a good example. That had quite low speed, and you saw that ball only just caught the right edge, but because my pace was good, that actually fell into the hole. Had that got a lot more pace on it, that would have missed. So I'm going to do another one. Okay, and that one's in well. So ideally from 10 feet, I'd be hoping to hit 5 putts to enable me to get 5 balls inside that distance. What I'd then do is move back to 15 feet, do the same task, 20 feet, and do the same task. So from 20 feet, how many putts does it take me to get 5 balls running at the right pace? Now, obviously, as you move further away, it's going to get harder, but if we can document this practice, if we can keep a notepad or something in our bags and actually keep track of this, we're going to start to see our pace increase. Sorry, our pace control get better and our scores improve. So we should be giving ourselves a rough percentage of how many putts it takes us to get that ball the right distance. And if it's poor, then we can work on our pace control. Okay, so have a go with this drill. Keep documenting it. Track your practice, and then hopefully you'll see those improve, your pace will improve, the effective hole size will be bigger, and we'll hold more putts.